Hello my darlings, it's Chanel and today we're doing a mood reading vlog. So as usual, I have gotten one prompt from a tarot deck. So this is the Lovely Ladies tarot deck, and like its title, it's full of babes, like absolutely gorgeous women. And the card that I pulled was the Seven of Wands, and the prompt for this card is pick two books and ask a friend to choose one for you. So I picked someone who could reply really quickly. First I tried Kate, but she must have been busy. She couldn't get back to me. I asked my mum, who, to be honest, out of everybody, she is the fastest replier, so I should have just gone straight to her. But I sent her two books, and the books that I got her to choose from were The Elven Days of Christmas by A.K. Caggiano and Nonfiction by Julie Meyerson. I had a feeling I knew which one she was going to choose based on the synopsis and the cover, and I was right. She chose nonfiction and she said, I'd really like to borrow it when you're done, but it's an ebook and my mum does not have e-readers. She's very low tech. Like, she's got her iPad and she goes on Instagram and Facebook, but she doesn't have the library app and she doesn't read ebooks. But if it's really good and I think she would like it, I'll just buy her a copy. So I will be reading nonfiction. I have already read two books, so I'm going to tell you about those. So the first book I picked up was Hot Springs Drive by Lindsay Hunter. Tomorrow, her body will be found. So this story is about two neighbors. So you've got two married couples and they both have children, and the wives and mothers bond over the misery of motherhood. You have Teresa, who has one child, a daughter, and then you have Jackie, who has a ton of sons. And I would say this is a frenemy situation because Jackie ends up banging Teresa's husband, and then Teresa is found brutally murdered. So you find out immediately, yeah, Teresa's dead. And somehow that works. You'd think like finding out a massive thing would make the book boring, but it's not. It's very easy to read and compulsive. And that is the majority reason why I rated this 3 stars, because there wasn't much else I liked about this book. This definitely reads more like a horror to me, because Teresa's death, which eventually is on page, is horrific. It is brutal. Then you have Jackie's eating disorder, which if you have any triggers for that, I will not read this book. It's on page and it's quite descriptive, and it's very uncomfortable and pervasive. And then Jackie swaps that hunger for food to a hunger for desire. She just wants to be desired. She wants to be fucked. And the sex in this is graphic and taboo and not erotic. It was, once again, I'd say if I was going to pick one word to surmise how this book made me feel, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And then the biggest thing that made me uncomfy was that there are children in this and they're teens. And obviously these teens are coming of age. And part of coming of age is the sexual awakening that one undergoes when a teenager. And some of these teens are boys. And you know what boys get up to. And you're in the head of these boys. So you are in the POV of all of the characters, so both families and then police as well. And being in the teenage boys' brains while they are perving on their 13-year-old female neighbor, it's ick, man. It's ick. So obviously there was no adult and child interactions in that way. But even though they were all teens interacting that way, I don't want to read about it, you know? So yeah, I didn't love this. I still gave it a 3 though, because it got me reading till the end, which I also have to mention, the ending overstayed its welcome. So I feel as though this would have been a lot more impactful if it had finished when the culprit for Teresa's murder was found. However, it continues on and it goes into the future when everyone's grown up, and it tells you what everyone's been up to and doing, and it's not necessary. It dragged the book out and it didn't offer anything of value. Like, I don't need to know how these people are doing 20 years down the track. I don't care, because that's the thing. There's no one really likable in this. You don't really care for any of the characters, maybe besides Teresa, who really got fucked over hard and not in a nice way. So yeah, I felt for her character. Everybody else didn't care for. And yeah, I'm left with an overall 3-star book. I will say, like, I do like the author's style. It's not flowery or anything, but she just nails sort of the pacing and the intrigue really well so that you want to keep going, even though, like I said, I didn't really like anything that was happening or the characters, but I read it all the way through. So the next book that I picked up has a little story time. So when I first got onto NetGalley, I went nuts with the arcs, and then I realized I hate the pressure of keeping my score higher. It has to be at 100. And I thought, I don't really want to use it unless there's something I really, really, really want to read. And I now only go on it probably once every 2 months, just have a bit of a browse. And I think my heart stopped, or at least skipped a beat, because I saw Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez on there. And if you watched my channel at all, you'll know that my favorite contemporary romance author, so Blue's being so fucking cute right now, stop distracting mum. My favorite contemporary romance author is Abby Jimenez. There is no one that beats her. I absolutely love her books because they are the perfect balance of romance, trauma, and humor. She just nails it. And so when I saw this on there, I thought, I have to try. I did not think even for a second that I would be approved. And when I got that email saying, I think I read it as you unfortunately weren't successful, because that's what I was expecting to see. But no, it said you've been approved. And I kid you not, I fucking squealed and kicked my feet like a 6-year-old on Christmas morning. I was like, how are you a grown woman? How are you almost 40, lady? It was like Christmas on crack. I could not believe it. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. Because the book's slated to come out in April. Obviously, I'll be fucking buying myself a copy. I'm kind of hoping someone does a special edition, because I would love that. I can just see the sunset and clouds sprayed on the edges. I can just see it. So I hope that does happen. But I got approved. I read that bitch immediately, okay? I read it in one sitting. I stayed up late. Fuck my sleep habit and sleep hygiene. I didn't give a shit. I devoured this book. Okay, so let me tell you the premise of the book. In this story, you have two people. You have Xavier Rush, who is a vet with a heart of gold, and who is a spinning image of Rhysand from ACOTAR. So Abby Jimenez loves to have like pop cultural references and kind of millennial humor in her books. And so naturally, as soon as she said he looks like Rhysand, I'm like, well, Rhysand is one of my all-time favorite book boyfriends. So you've already got me. And he's a vet who saves animals, and he's a little bit, it's not grumpy, okay? He's just introverted and he doesn't like people. I can relate, Xavier. I saw a lot of myself in him and in his circumstances, so I also resonated quite a lot with him as a character. He is now my book husband of all time. I don't think it is possible for me to ever find another male character that I love more than Xavier Rush. Xavier Rush has ruined me for all other men. I don't think I could ever date again, honestly, because I will forever be holding up whatever poor schmuck, male or female, against the magnificence of Dr. Xavier Rush. Abby Jimenez has written the perfect man. It's a man written by a woman. I'm just going to say that as well. I get it, okay? Real life men, you can't compete with that. But still. So yeah, he is absolutely sublime and would with everything in my being. The next character, his love interest, is Samantha. And she's a lovely, beautiful woman. And she finds a stray cat. And this cat has no poop chute. Yes, you heard me correctly. She's got some medical condition where her poop is not really making it to her butthole. And Xavier tells her, you should just put her down. The surgery for this is astronomically expensive and the chances of it being successful are slim. He's had a bad day, okay? So we've got to give him some grace. He's had a very bad day and he's just trying to be honest with her. Well, our girl, Samantha, ain't having none of that. She's an eternal optimist and she's like, I'm going to prove you wrong, mister. And she starts a GoFundMe campaign. She uses her excellent sense of humor to end up earning enough to not only pay for the surgery for little kitty Puda, which I think this is what she ends up calling her, but also extra, which she donates to other animal organizations. She was $500 from her initial goal, and Xavier donates the final $500 to get her to her exact goal because he can admit when he was wrong. So she does end up coming to see him afterwards. There is instant heat and banter and chemistry. So she's basically like, you're going to ask me out or what? And he's like, yes. Like, can I take you out today? And I loved this about these guys, just knew what they wanted and they went for it. Xavier is definitely a massive acts of service man. He goes above and beyond, like honestly, more than you could expect from a human. I don't think anybody would go to the lengths this man does to make their relationship work. And this is what I loved about this book. There was the conflict in here wasn't because of them, okay? It wasn't because of them making stupid mistakes or miscommunicating or whatever. It was their external circumstances, which are realistic and frustrating, but they constantly fought to be together despite all of the shit that was heaped upon them and that they were weighed down by. I love them together. Like I said, Xavier, just, my God. But the other elements in this, Xavier had a rough childhood. He came from abusive parents, narcissists, and he built himself up from nothing. Obviously, when you've been a child and you've been in that situation, it does affect you in certain ways, and he was dealing with that. And then you have Samantha, whose mother has dementia, which is something that is very close to my heart. I had 3 grandparents who succumbed to the effects of dementia. My yaya, whom I was closest to and who I am always saying was like a mother to me, she had this moment of lucidity before the end where she had my father bring her to my home. And she said to me, I know that I'm hurting my children when I am in this state and I have no control over it. And I feel like a prisoner in my body and I don't want your children to remember me this way. Like, she was very aware when she was lucid that she was not herself, that she was lashing out and hurting the people that she loved the most. And she didn't want to live that way anymore. And she said to me, I want to die. I want to go to heaven. She believed in God and heaven. And she says, I want to be with my mum and my dad and my brothers and sisters again. Like, she had a very, very tragic childhood. She's one of those childhoods where you feel like this obviously was written in a story, like an absolute trauma porn story. This can't have happened to someone. But it did. It happened to my grandmother. I'm not going to tell you all the details because I remember when she told me when I was older, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what you've been through? And she deserved better. I know she ended up having beautiful children and she had some peace later on in her life. But she deserved a lot more love and happiness than she got, and way less pain and suffering than she got. But yeah, she said to me, I want to go, and I'm saying goodbye. I want you to know that I'm proud of you and I love you. And tell your daughters I love them. My kids were still young, but she passed away a week after that. And like I said, I've seen it happen to 3 of my grandmothers, my great grandmother, and then my 2 grandmothers. And it is one of the most heartbreaking things because you see these people just become ghosts in front of you. Like, they're lost. They're not there. They're trapped somewhere in their sick brains, and it's like you've lost them while they're still alive. And it's so hard when they don't recognize you, or there's the moments where they become violent and angry and they lash out, and it's hard to be a carer too. Like, my heart goes out. I wasn't a carer. Like, I went and visited as much as I could, but I wasn't a carer for my great mother or my grandmothers. That fell to their children, and it's a huge sacrifice. Like, you don't end up living for yourself anymore. You're living to take care of them. You're living to take care of the people that you love, but who don't even know you're fucking there. Like, maybe that some part of them do deep inside, but the day to day, it's completely thankless and it's just non-stop, and it is exhausting and draining. And I think Abby really brought that across well, and also showed like the really hard decisions that come across when you're in that situation. And what do you do? And are you not allowed to have some sort of piece of life for yourself? Do you just have to sacrifice everything for this person that cared for you because they're now unwell and unable to care for themselves? So you sacrifice, a majority of your youth to pay back the time that your parents spent caring for you. It's a shit thing. And I wish, I hope one day that they are able to prevent Alzheimer's and dementia and psychosis so that no one else has to go through it themselves or have their loved ones have to go through it. For me personally, I've told my children, if that ever happens to me and I don't even know you and I am having to be watched 24/7, put me in a home. Like, come and visit me, but don't give up your lives for me when I'm not even there anymore. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. So yeah, this book hit me in all the feels. like I said, with the romance, with the trauma, with the humor, with the love. Like, I did laugh out loud a lot. I think, look, this particular book might not appeal to a lot of people. I could see that, but for me, it just hit all the points, and it is my absolute favorite Abby Jimenez book that I have read. Like I said, I can't wait to get myself a physical copy. So this is like, you know, fucking shining 5 stars, and to have it in my, so early in the year, fucking chef's kiss. But like, I highly doubt there will be another romance book, contemporary romance, that would ever beat this. Like, my God, I loved it. Abby Jimenez is a queen, and she can do no wrong in my eyes. Like, I know, that being said, I did not read the first book in her first ever series because I know it's not for me, so I don't want to read it and rate it low, but all the other books, loved. Okay, this series is already off to a fucking phenomenal start. No notes, like no notes whatsoever, except maybe the covers. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm just not a huge fan of the very cartoon-like contemporary romance covers. I don't mind if it's cartoon, but if it's the more, I guess, I'll put some other ones. I've seen some other cartoon-like romance covers that are more appealing to me. But yes, I love this book. So what a wonderful experience, seriously. I can't believe I got approved. I'm so happy that I didn't have to wait until April. But like I said, if anybody sees a heads up, because I'm not on any other social media besides YouTube. I don't have Instagram and things like that, TikTok. If anyone sees a special edition of this book, please let me know where, because I really would love that. So the next book I have to read obviously is nonfiction, and I thought I would do one more as well, do 4 books for this one. But today I am driving down to see my dad. He lives by the beach with my stepmom. I was hoping to also catch up with my stepmom, but she is unwell, so she has a terminal illness. She has something that she's been battling with long term, so yeah, we're just trying to spend as much time with her as we can, but she's just not well enough today, so it's okay. I did see her at Christmas, and my kids saw her. Like I said, we don't get to see her very often because she's unwell, but we, you know, love seeing her when we can, and I'm just trying to, like I said, get as much time in as possible with her while she's here. And oh yeah, fuck, I'm just gonna cry again, Jesus. But yeah, so I'm driving down there anyway, see my dad, because I've always, you know, wanted to take the girls down that way to the beach, and I'm taking them to the place that their dad and I held our wedding reception, because I thought that would be kind of cute, you know, like revisit the past a little bit, because my dad's also, he wanted my car because he's going to fix it for me, because a lady smashed into it. My car was parked. She hit my car like 2 years ago, and then she tried to sneak away, but people witnessed it, followed her, noted down her number plate, and then left it on my windshield like, hey, this person hit your car, here's their details. So yeah, she did hit it, and my dad's a panel beater, so he's like, you know what, get the payout and I'll do it. So he's going to do that. There's some other issues with my car. My little baby, only 10 years old, but yeah, I'm having a lot of issues, and I'm just like, is it because of the electronics in cars these days? Like, it's a Honda, and I chose a Honda because normally they're very reliable, but they do have the electronic system and stuff, and it's just been effing up, like telling me, hey, your tire pressure's low, and then checking it, no, it's not, it's not. Or, why are you gaslighting me, electronics? So yeah, he's gonna take my car and fix it up for me, so I'm driving it to him, and then the kids, you're just gonna sit on top of my iPad. It's so comfy, huh? It's so comfy. Blue's down here, I'll just show you. Yeah? Oh. There you go. Oh, you want to come say hello? Come on, come say hello. You want to say hello? Say hi. Hi, guys. Yeah, so then my kids and I will just get an Uber back. So we were planning on going to the National Gallery of Victoria today, but yeah, my dad's like, hey, could you drive down here and leave your car here? And I'm like, yep, you're doing me a massive favor, so of course I can. So that's what's on the agenda for today, and then yeah, I'll hopefully read the next 2 books and let you guys know how they went. But it is the new year, and I hope the new year has been kind to you. Like, I think we're all hoping for a really good 2025. The world in general has been put through the ringer. We're all struggling, I think, you know, with the cost of living and everything else. So I don't know, man, like I'm just putting good vibes out there. Like, let this be just a fantastic year. One for the books. Can you open your wings? I know you're resting. Oh. So pretty. Wow.
Can I get some fries? And you said
So it's like mint.
Can we go on the beach?
I'll take it down. Blue, honey. How are you going to get down? Hey, you're very high. Yeah. Okay guys, we're finishing off this vlog. I actually haven't read much. We've been doing all the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, little things that we like to do, and it's been taking up my time, doing a lot of spring cleaning, moving around. Because we bought a treadmill, which I'll talk about in the next vlog, and I had to move that into Indy's playroom. So we all have a bedroom, and then there's this little small room, which I guess used to be used as an office, but I don't use it as an office. It's mostly the bookshelves and Indy's toys, because Indy has so many toys that we put them in one room for her, and that's where the treadmill had to go because we don't have the floor space elsewhere. So to make up for her losing 50% of her floor space, I decided to move all of my books to my bedroom, so she's got all of the shelving in that room for her now, and her books and her toys. And so I bought a bookshelf, and I will erect one here. Hopefully it doesn't crowd my room a lot. I like a lot of space and airiness. I don't like a lot of things, but you know, I had to help out kiddo after she so graciously gave up half the room for a treadmill for all of us. So yeah, I've just been busy. You know when it's a new year, you get that rush of, oh, let's implement some changes, let's put some good habits in. So I've been swept away with that, but I did end up finishing some books. So I picked up the book Nettle by Bex Hogan. I love the cover. The cover was very eye-catching for this. I did read the ebook. So I am, for this month, tracking the formats that I read on, because a viewer asked, like, what are your percentages for physical books, ebooks, and audio? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't bother like doing that, because you have to go into the little editions area and change it to what you're doing. I just don't care to do that. But I thought, all right, let me see. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 70% ebook, 25% physical, 5% audio, most likely. But I am tracking for this month. But this is a YA fae fantasy. I feel like it's middle grade. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But you've got a main character named Nettle, and she lives with her grandmother in the woods, and her grandmother is ill. And Nettle is she's a little odd, you know, she's a little special. She's maybe got a little secret that she's hiding. And she's got an affinity for nettles, hence her nickname Nettle. They don't sting her. She's immune to their prickly, precautionary, evolutionary biology, and she falls asleep in the nettles, and she falls through into fairyland, and she's brought before the king and accused of treason, and is caught up in all these fairy politics, and she's given a deal. She wants to return home to her grandmother who's ill, and the deal that she strikes with the elf king is that he will heal her grandmother and allow her to return home if she completes 3 tasks. This was very reminiscent of Vasilisa the Beautiful, in that she's given 3 seemingly impossible tasks, and yet she is able to accomplish them with the help of others. This book also features a love triangle, which was so meh. It was just, I don't think the romance was well done. There's a human boy, stable boy, who was obviously tricked into fairyland and has not been able to finish his one task, and yet he still yearns for home. And then there's this shadow daddy fairy who was a former changeling and is very alluring to Nettle, and obviously both men instantly enamored with her. It's insta love, but I don't feel any love. There is no love, no chemistry. I don't know. I don't think romance is this author's strong suit, because I was feeling nada, including between the fairy king and his estranged fairy queen wife. But the world was interesting. It's just a very typical fairy kind of world with goblin markets and weird creatures and conniving and illusions and what you would come to expect from a world of fae. But the book itself, it felt very middle grade. There was, like I said, the romance wasn't there. It's PG. There's a kiss. That's it. And the way that it was written, it was very simple, even in terms of just the plot pacing and progressing and the story. There was sort of no intricacy there, and it was very ho-hum for me. I've given it 3 stars. There's nothing terrible about it. It was just very basic. You could sort of see kind of how the story was going to go. Maybe perhaps, but yeah, I think it was just too simple for my tastes. and felt too young. It did have the old fairy tale qualities to it, like I said, reminiscent of Vasilisa the Beautiful and maybe Rumpelstiltskin a little bit, and I did enjoy that. Nettle herself, she's just a very stock standard main female character in a fantasy novel. She's sweet and she's tender, but she's also tenacious and determined and brave, like very typical main character. But even with her, I just didn't feel much emotion, despite the fact you were meant to be feeling her need to get back to her grandmother and to escape fairyland. There wasn't much, the stakes didn't feel very high, the tension wasn't there. I'd consider this to be more of a cozy read. So if you like cozier reads just with, fantastical characters and fae and mischief and magic, this could be for you. But yeah, I just wanted a bit more oomph to it, but it's a 3-star read for me. And then the final book that I read for this reading vlog was Maeve Fly by CJ Leede. So I'd previously read American Rapture, which I'd given 5 stars. This one is also a horror, more splatterpunk, and it's about Maeve, who by day works as a Disney princess and by night likes to macabrely kill people in her very rich grandmother's house. And her grandmother is currently an invalid. She is bedbound and Maeve is her carer. So her grandmother is the main person that Maeve has an attachment to. She's also got a best friend named Kate. Oh my gosh, I forgot to say, yes, I was meant to be reading nonfiction, which my mum picked. Nonfiction was not for me. It's written in the second person, which I don't think I have read a book in the second person that I've really liked. It's when they're addressing you as a character. In this case, you are the main character's drug-addicted daughter. So this is a book which has an abusive relationship between the main character and her mother, and her daughter is a drug addict. So both the relationships are toxic and awful, and it's very heavy material. But it just, it's one of those books that just felt draining. I just felt drained. I didn't like the writing style or the second person narrative. I didn't connect to the main character, even though she was going through such awful things and being torn, and it sounded good. Sometimes I like the trauma heavy books, but in this case, no, I had to DNF it. I was, loathing to pick it up. I just didn't want to get back into it. And it took a lot of energy to read. And I'm like, no. I'm not here to have my battery drained. So the cover, stunning, beautiful, love the cover. The book wasn't for me, definitely not recommending it to my mother. I'm not sure who I would recommend it to. I think if you like trauma heavy books, like bleak and depressing, you can tell this book is not gonna have a happy ending. I could see it coming. And if you really love second person narrative, which isn't very common in the literary world, and you like generational trauma and complex mother-daughter relationships, it might be for you, but it wasn't for me. So Kate ended up getting back to me, and the books that she was choosing between were these two. I thought maybe she might go for the knitting one because, it's a knitting one. I threw that in there just as sort of like a thing for Kate. But no, she went for Mayfly. So I'm glad, because that's the one I actually wanted to read more. And we're back to Mayfly. So the Maeve's best friend being called Kate, I just thought it was kismet. That Kate chose this book. But yes, that's her best friend. And then one day Kate introduces Maeve to her hot but aloof and odd brother Gideon, and there is a pull between Gideon and Maeve instantly. But Maeve is leading a double life, so how much can she let someone get close to her? How much can she let someone in before they find out who she really is? And would she ever allow someone to truly see her? I think I ended up giving this a 3.75. There were some things I didn't like about it. I love CJ Leede's writing. Love it. We'll read anything she puts out, even if the plot isn't to my cup of tea. Maeve is not a likable character. The biggest issue I had with her was that she does perpetrate sexual violence against women. Look, I'm all for murder and torture and what have you, but there's a scene with her and a virgin woman, and the violence she decides to perpetrate against them, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't want it. I don't want it. Especially not woman on woman violence in that way. It's just yuck for me. Besides that, this book went very heavy-handed with the references to American Psycho with Patrick Bateman as the character, to the point where the Maeve even picks up American Psycho and talks about Patrick Bateman. So I think obviously the author must really idolize that book and really enjoy that character, and you could see the parallels between Maeve and Patrick in this book and American Psycho, and I thought it was just too heavy-handed, it was too on the nose, and I didn't think it needed to be done that way. But otherwise, it was interesting. I thought the pacing was good. And like I said, with CJ Lead, I just enjoy the way she tells a story. And so I was reading it all the way through. I would say it is pretty graphic. And I know some people might think the sex scenes are graphic, but I felt like they could have been described a bit more. And I'm not talking about the violent aspects of the sex scenes. I'm talking about the actual sex in the sex scenes. Look, I do have a high tolerance for smut and sexual detail, so I kind of wish the scenes between Maeve and Gideon had been a bit juicier, a bit more descriptive. But yes, there are interesting things being inserted in interesting parts in this, so stuff I have not read before, and that always is tantalizing when you're reading a scene that you have never read and you're like, oh, that was interesting. Not something I'd like to partake in, but it's good to read something new, something novel, something fresh. But as someone who's just gone into monster kink erotica, I think there will be a point where I haven't read anything new, possibly. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. It's also set in LA, and there is a Hollywood aspect because Kate is a wannabe starlet. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, that's in here quite frequently. And Gideon himself is a famous hockey player, so there's a sport angle and an interesting ice hockey rink sex scene. Bit of I would rate the sex in here an R because it is kinky and explicit, but it's more other acts during the sex than the sex itself that's explicit. The other bits are a bit more M, just not very described. But yeah, those are all the books I read, so let me sum them up for you. I read Hot Springs Drive by Lindsay Hunter, which I rated 3 stars. Nettle by Bex Hogan, which I rated 3 stars. And out of the books I did read all the way in full, this was my favorite cover. Then we have Maeve Fly by CJ Lead, which I rated 3.75 stars, rounded up to a 4. And my favorite read of this reading vlog, Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which I gave 5 stars. Every time I say the title of that book though, I think of the song. I'm pretty sure it's a Taylor Swift song. So that does end up playing in my head when I talk about the title of this book. But that was, one of the most exciting moments of this year so far, finding out that I was approved for the arc of a book of my favorite contemporary romance author, and it delivered, and I can't wait to get my hands on a physical copy of the book. Hopefully a special edition if they do one, if not, just a regular one. But yeah, we've started this year off so good, guys. Nothing lower than a 3. I did DNF non-fiction, but I've had a lot of fun, and I have slowed down my reading as I wanted to do, just to ease up with the filming schedule, because it is summer holidays and I want to make the most of my free time, like taking time off from work as well, because the stock market does actually close over Christmas and New Year. I hope to make it to the beach at some point. I don't live close by, so it is a couple hours drive, but being by the ocean is definitely a happy place for me. The dream, oh my God, the absolute dream would be have a house overlooking the ocean. But also coastal corrosion is a thing. So I want to make sure my land will always be there with my house on it, not part of the ocean. That's everything for this reading vlog. Until next time, stay wild, star child.